Quite recently, I've played Still Wakes the Deep, and I loved it. Especially for the dreadful feeling of claustrophobia it managed to make me feel. Oh, and by the way, I'm working on a video about it, which is gonna come out by the beginning of next month, probably. And it's gonna come out on my new channel, this one. Be sure to subscribe. Thank you very much. And shortly after finishing it, I've managed to put my hands on all the 4 volumes of this manga. It's called 6000 Rokusen. This title doesn't really make sense because 6000, means 6000. Rokusen also means 6000, so it's basically like 6000, 6000. Like the Ferrari, la Ferrari, which means the Ferrari. Yeah. Still feeling a bit of a void, longing for any type of media with a similar vibe. I've read it in one sitting, and it's gotta be one of the coolest horror manga I've ever read. And I'm gonna be talking about it today. 6,000 meters deep underneath the Philippine Sea, a massive and extremely advanced plant has been installed by a Japanese company dealing in mining, as well as in the medical and energy field. The structure, called COVDC, or at least I think that's how you pronounce it, in its current and finished state is supposed to serve as a housing and monitoring facility for dozens of personnel, up to 50 if I'm not mistaken. Shortly after its inauguration, a bizarre incident, which has been publicly explained with a simple fire, has caused the death of the entire team that was on duty, and also, sometime later, of a group of rescuers that has been sent to report on the situation and also to evacuate possible survivors. 3 years later, after being acquired by the Chinese, it's decided that the Cove of the Sea should be open once again. A small team of specialist staff has been selected, and among them a young Japanese man, Kengo Kadakura. As Kengo meets the manager of the operation, Wang Qiangwo, I do not know the tones because they're not written in the manga. I'm really sorry if I butchered that pronunciation. The man Kengo was supposed to be paired up with to work at the Cove of the Sea gets urgently taken away by medics with what seems to be a really deep wound on his neck, on his throat. Now, before them stands a 4-hour-long descent down to the Cove of the Sea. That's 6,000 meters. Deep in the ocean, and the only way to access this plant is by an elevator tube, as they call it, a structure that in 60 different spots along its length, through some cutting-edge technology, manages to depressurize basically all of its different sectors. And also, it's stated that it can withstand up to 110 megapascal of pressure. I've made some calculation. That is about 16,000 pounds per square inch for my American friends. And that is a lot. I got somewhat curious about all of this, and doing a bit of a research, I found out that the Triton 3600/2 is currently the deepest diving non-military submarine, potentially able to dive at any depth. That means that it can also handle the same exact pressure if it were to dive at the very bottom of the Mariana Trench. Yet, I was somewhat surprised to find out that the deepest underwater facility, the Aquarius Reef Base in Florida, is just 20 meters or 66 feet deep. And that's it. And not only that, but it's also the world's only underwater facility. I did not know that. I thought that something along the lines of what's described in this manga actually existed, but no, we're not that evolved as it seems. The group finally reaches the Cove of the Sea, where we get to meet some new characters. So we have Kusakabe, which I think that's the Japanese name, so a young Japanese girl that is the head of the engineering, basically. We have Mei Lin, who, as we're gonna find out later, is a daughter of one of the original crew members that died 3 years prior. And also we have this guy, his name is Henry Herschbach. I'm not sure if that's the pronunciation. I didn't really get his exact working position at the facility, but as he states, he supposedly spent like the last 20 years researching marine life, shit like that. What I can say though is that he's an absolute asshole. Honestly, one of the most insufferable characters I've ever encountered in any type of media I've consumed. As Kengo starts to get acquainted with what is gonna be his new home for, well, supposedly not that long of a time, he finds out by chatting with some workers that Danzaki, the man that he was supposed to be paired up with to work at the Cove of the Sea, has actually tried to kill himself with a gardening sickle, and that is what caused him to get hospitalized. Now, if you have any experience with horror media, whatever it might be, movies, video games, manga, whatever, you know how these things go. A couple of visions of some macabre, bizarre shit, radio communications received by the headquarters 6,000 meters above that nobody actually sent. The main character finding a picture of the old staff members covered in some weird black goo. The usual. Actually, one of these scenes I kind of liked it. During a security check that goes wrong, causing the entire facility to fall into darkness, Kendo stumbles into a group of rescuers running around searching for survivors. I mean, he doesn't realize that at the moment, but it's obviously a vision of the rescuers that were sent down there 2 years prior to rescue the survivors. And this scene is not really that amazing or anything. It just stuck with me for a very specific reason, because it reminded me of one of my favorite horror movies I used to watch as a kid, which is Ghostbusters. Specifically of this scene with the ghost train. I used to be terrified of it, but it's still great. It still looks amazing. Also, as any serious company out there, the Shanghai Star Shipbuilding, which is the Chinese company that acquired the COVDC, also takes a big pride in communicating potential dangers to its employees. Putting their safety at first, no matter what. Yeah. That's why, in order to let them concentrate on their job and not get distracted, any type of question about the accident will be liquidated with the excuse of a fire that managed to kill the entirety of the crew, without really causing any major damage to the structure, which is quite a delicate structure. This first volume ends with Kendo and Kusakabe being sent to check provisions, because since the accident, all of the provisions were basically left in a warehouse that has never been opened yet. And when they finally open it, they find a man staring back from the darkness. Now, I really do not want to spoil the story any further, because it's just a 4 volumes long manga. It's really short, and it's an easy and very entertaining read. So if you're curious about the plots, just read it. Do yourself a favor and read it. It's a good manga. I feel like this story can definitely fall under the broad and sometimes too hastily given category of Lovecraftian horror. The horror in the story is actually ancient, incomprehensible. It soaks through people's minds and drives them to insanity. People either reject it and die, or end up dedicating the entirety of their life to serve it, maybe hoping to one day get at least a little bit closer to comprehend its eldritch nature. What I do really want to talk about, though, is the atmosphere of this manga. The Cove Sea, a facility on the bottom of the ocean, unreachable, completely cut off from the world above. It might honestly be one of the coolest settings for a horror story I've ever seen. The structure offers shelter to its inhabitants. It's surrounded by nothing more than pitch black water. Yet it's homey in a certain way. It's warm, it's lit, there's light everywhere. A deadly threat that appears into an environment like this becomes endlessly more dangerous and terrifying. It becomes inescapable. That's what makes it a lot more terrifying. Nakoto Koike, an author that, not that many people know, as it seems, did a pretty good job with the art as well, especially with some of the most intense panels depicting depicting eldritch horror that's beyond human comprehension in perfect Lovecraftian style. It's they're really good. Some of these panels are really nice. I've been thinking about this. If I had to compare this manga to Still Wakes the Deep, to the game, I'd have to say that it's a less grand, less cinematic, yet somewhat more raw and grounded story. By being more grounded and being told on a more human level, in a way it feels more realistic and, well, just scarier. I really hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, don't forget to leave a like and subscribe to the channel, that really means a lot to me. Other than that, thank you very much again. I hope you're gonna spend an amazing Halloween, and goodbye.